Welcome back. Hurricane Helene is expected to make landfall later tonight, possibly as a Cat 4 storm.
I don't see any reason why it won't at this point. It's already become a Category 2 from the last advisory at 7 o'clock that just came out a little bit ago. And we're starting to see the structure of the eye form as well. And whenever that happens, it's just off to the races at that point.
And a lot of fuel ahead of it before it makes landfall.
Plenty of fuel ahead of it. We're already seeing wave heights upwards of 20 feet. And that's hundreds of miles away from it as well. So it's going to be rather interesting, that's for sure.
I know hurricane hunters, they've gone up. They've been up for the past about, what, 24 hours or so?
About that. They've got a new flight that's going out probably in the next couple of hours. It generally takes, hours to... About that. They've got a new flight that's going out probably in the next couple of hours. It generally takes, hours to do prepping. I know they had one early this morning, I believe at about 5 a.m. that they took off. There's another one going out in a few hours. They'll probably send one more out before it makes landfall this evening as well. And this is what they do, crisscross that storm, and it's all about creating a grid so that you can get every single piece of weather information you can from that storm.
Getting that accurate information to know what's going to happen, trying to predict, to see forecast, to see what's ahead for these folks in its path. So this is what you see behind us. That's the route of the flight, the tracker showing the route the hunters took, as Justin just mentioned. They maneuvered in and around the storm. Our Gage Goulding had the opportunity to go up with the hunters. He's joining us live now with more on that experience and information that we learned from this trip. Gage.
Yeah, hey, good morning. I will say it was definitely an interesting experience to be able to fly into the eye of a hurricane. Now, I want to put a disclaimer out there. This wasn't the crazy cool pictures that you see online of a very defined hurricane eye. Yes, there was an eye of Hurricane Helene, but it wasn't like that perfect circle where you look out the front of the plane and you can see the perfect circle. And pictures really don't do it justice. And at one point, we were actually flying around trying to find that center of low pressure, right? Because that's the goal. Once you find the low pressure, then they can start doing their work. So flying there, a little bit turbulent. I asked the pilot on a scale of 1 to 10, where does this land in terms of turbulency? He said, you're about a 1, maybe a 0.5. So more turbulent than your average commercial flight for sure. Most turbulent flight I think I've ever been on. But it definitely could have been a lot worse. I'll say we were lucky in that sense, Zach.
Yeah, certainly very fascinating. So, Gage, for people not familiar with how this assignment works, talk to us about, where it was you had to go. Talk to us about how long the flight took. Give us that insight.
Yeah, so we're here in Biloxi, Mississippi. This is Keesler Air Force Base. That's where the Hurricane Hunters is stationed. It's the technical name is the 53rd Weather Reconnaissance Squadron. It's part of a wing down here. It's actually a pretty decent sized base. And we had to fly the whole way down to the Yucatan Peninsula, kind of right in that area between Cuba and the Yucatan Peninsula. And I want to make very clear, in news, you kind of hear about breaking news and old news. What we were doing in that moment from an hour before was new news, and that old news was very old news because the information is just changing so rapidly. So we flew down there. It was about 10 hours in the back of this wasn't United First Class here. This is a repurposed military jet, kind of outfitted with a bunch of weather information, weather technology, and really just flying in and around, making a big X shape and just flying in and out of the storm, penetrating the storm time and time again. I think we did 5 total passes inside the storm. Meanwhile, they're dropping these sondes out of these tubes, right? And you kind of feel your ears pop because the pressure changes, but they're dropping these little readers that are gathering all kind of information, pressure, wind direction, wind speed, all of this that's fed back in live time, right, to Miami, the National Hurricane Center, where they're then using that information to help adjust the track, adjust the intensity. So whenever you hear that, oh, we just bumped up this, that, or the other thing because of what the hurricane hunters found, is because, satellite and radar only does so much. Getting there in real life really gets all the information. If we have this little bit of the interview, I want to play it because it was really interesting learning about what all that they were doing up in the sky.
We're not even on the ground yet. There's another crew just like this already taking off to head back to where we just came.
Yeah, they actually just passed us in the air, so they're heading out to get right back into the storm.
Why is it so important to have this around the clock coverage?
It's vital to have these assets in the storm continuously as it's approached the United States to really get the proper forecast correct and get the word out to everybody.
The National Hurricane Center is pretty amazing. and they have the best forecasters in the world all in one place. So we're very fortunate to have them. But they definitely need our data to make their forecasts more accurate.
Wow, really fascinating to see that inside look. Gage, you know, this all seems really awesome, really cool research. Has there actually been any improvement with these forecasts from these tools that we have?
Yeah, we were talking about this yesterday a little bit, that this all started, you know, flying into hurricanes over a bed at a bar many years ago. I believe it was the 1940s, and this kind of turned into a whole, actually really important division, the world's only routinely flying weather reconnaissance team. The answer to your question is yes, about 25% improvement in the accuracy. So when we get those adjustments to the forecast cone, it really comes from knowing exactly where that center of low pressure is, and then learning where is it wobbling to, where is it moving. So what they're doing, it might not seem like much, and I'll be honest with you, there were points during the flight where we were kind of just looking around and we were like, are we supposed to be doing something? But they're doing the math. They're doing the science that is, it's super important. So the work that they're doing, you might not know, but I say it's the unsung heroes of hurricane forecasting, because everything 100%. That the Storm Tracker 2 team uses, we're getting from the, you know, the hurricane.
I was just going to say, this is the information
way,
that you use, Justin.
Yeah, I mean, when we're trying to cook a forecast, they're the ones bringing the ingredients, right? That's why it's super important to have it. Hey, Gage, while I've got you, I got one more question for you, and I know you've flown with the folks there, and they've been on a number of missions. What's everybody's sense of this storm? Like behind the scenes, what were they chattering about? What's the feel of this storm so far?
Yeah, and I will say they've flown a couple of hurricanes. Our pilot there, Boykin, this was his 64th hurricane that he has flown into. Not tropical storms, hurricanes, Cat 1 or above. So he's done it once or twice. I asked him, I said, what's different about this storm? Because you have a textbook hurricane. While we were there, they said it wasn't as strong as they thought, which we kind of saw in the overnight advisories, reduction in the max wind speeds, right? We kind of saw that. But they said, don't take that for granted. This could change. We expect rapid intensification. They also said that the southeast quadrant of the storm was a lot stronger than anticipated. So that's all information that they were getting from, you know, flying into it, that even they kind of had their eyes open with.
Interesting.
And so when we say, Justin, when he said that southeast quadrant of the storm, what does that mean? I know we hear the dirty side often.
That's the dirty side, yeah.
Talk to us about what that means.
So both of those that they were talking, the northeast and southeast quadrants are the dirty side of the storm, right? Because of the centrifugal force of a counterclockwise swirl, everything is going to be lapped up. So that means your highest wind percentages will be there, your highest wind gusts, your biggest storm surge push will be there, because if you take water and you just move your hand and you move it that direction like sand,
of course,
all that going to get pressed up. What's interesting about that, Gage, is this morning, just in the last half hour, when Zach and I have been showing the visual satellites that just popped up at about 20 minutes ago when we got sunshine here, that southeast quadrant is starting to create an eye wall. So that may be what they were pinging off of, is that if that was a little stronger, that may be where the actual eye of this hurricane is starting to form in the last, let's say, 2 to 3 hours.
Gage.
Wow, that is incredibly interesting, and that's kind of what they were doing. They were moving in and out. So I'm sure that next crew that was going in overnight, which just ended just a little bit ago, that might have been what they found too. So honestly, probably one of the most fascinating stories that I've had a pleasure to be on. So really interesting work of what they do.
Well, excellent reporting. Gage Goulding live for us this morning in Mississippi. This truly is fascinating, and you know, we talk about the distance it has yet to travel. It's all over that Gulf, and that Gulf is warm right now, so adding fuel to intensify this storm. We want to go to Florida right now. We have cameras live for us this morning.